Hey everyone, my name is Mike Vaughn. I'm a writer for Geek Vibes Nation, and I'm also the author of The Ultimate Guide to Strange Cinema.
And I'm Dillon Gonzalez. I'm the editorial director for GeekVibesNation.com and also a co-host of the Home Dance Film Festival podcast.
And welcome to a new Video Attic new release roundup. If you're new here, first of all, welcome. To explain what we do, we go back and forth. We talk about the latest home video releases. Some are bad, some are great, some are in between, some are like Candyman 3 level bad. Like for longtime viewers, that's like our benchmark for like the lowest of the low.
Yeah.
Until we get a new, until we get something new to replace that. We haven't found it yet, but we've come close a time or two. But I'm gonna let you start this party off.
I appreciate that. And before we get started, I am excited. We haven't had one of these in a while, but we have a giveaway. And this is such a big title for us. I think we're going to run it over like the next two episodes. This one and the next one, I think, is going to be eligible. It's the one I'm excited about. I believe it's the first 4K from the MVD Rewind collection, and that is Swamp Thing.
Nice.
Now, I did the return of Swamp Thing on 4K earlier this year, but this is the original from Wes Craven. I won't show it off in full because I'm going to do a full review of this next week, which is why I want to continue this. But this comes out soon from MVD, 4K and a Blu-ray included in here with a poster, and you can win it. All you have to do is comment on this video. Let us know which title that we are talking about on this episode you are most excited about, and it's as simple as that. I believe this will go for a couple weeks. I'll announce the end date on the next episode because I'm bad at planning. But I just got this in and I wanted to show this off to our audience. I'm very excited about it. So make sure to keep tuning into the Video Attic. Stay tuned to the Geek Vibes Nation socials, where we'll be giving you even more opportunities to like have entries into this contest. It is great. So Swamp Thing on 4K.
Nice.
Tune in next week for a full overview, but this is one of the titles I'm most excited about coming up in the next few months. So very excited about that one.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, and I'm going to jump into our actual reviews now. My first title, very excited about this one too. This was great. This is from Deaf Crocodile in partnership with Vinegar Syndrome, and this is The Pied Piper, which is a 1986 stop motion animation film, which I freaking love stop motion, and this is no exception. This is from Czechoslovakia, and there's not a double-sided artwork, but there is some background artwork you can see here. It's kind of dark, so it's hard to see, but you can kind of see the makeup of the city here. And let me get this in without ripping it, because that would make me cry on camera. And while that might be good for ratings, it's not good for my mental health. Here is a booklet here, where you can kind of see the gargoyle statue.
Is that a rat on the back of that? Sorry.
Yes, it is, because this deals intimately with rats. That's a rat coming out of a gargoyle's mouth, which is a pretty cool shot. So there's some essays and all that stuff in here. Lots of great information on this film and kind of the restoration and all that kind of stuff. So I'd never seen this before, but I trust Deaf Crocodile because they've delved into animation a little bit before. I reviewed on the site Delta Space Mission, was a traditionally animated Russian movie, I believe. And I'm glad they unearthed yet another gem with this stop motion animation. This takes the classic tale of the Pied Piper, which dates back, at least I believe, like a century. And it's kind of this tale of us, or at least this kind of like subverts some of the tellings of the tale. But what this is basically is a town that is kind of really just kind of awful and just kind of focused on like wealth and maintaining their place in society and everything. They're kind of started to be overrun by rats, and they don't know what to do. So they kind of hire this guy who they can believe can drive the rats out of the city, but whether or not he can actually succeed in it and whether or not they'll actually give him like his proper payment and like what his kind of motivations for certain aspects are is something I kind of want to leave up to the film, because this actually isn't a very long feature. I guess it's technically a feature. It's like 53 minutes long. So it's not like a super long time investment, but it tells the story. It's as long as the story needs to be for what it's trying to tell. So I don't kind of like fault it for being sub 1 hour. It's a very interestingly told tale that's beautifully animated. It's very dark and gothic and like expressionistic, and there's really like the characters are mostly like carved out of wood, and they have like really interesting, there's no proper dialogue in this movie. There are exchanges of like ideas, but it's kind of the way it's realized is very creative. Usually it's like speaking kind of like in like a gibberish grunt type situation, but then like so you'll get an idea of what they are talking about. Like in one of the early scenes, like there's like a marketplace where you see a bunch of people haggling about different exchanges and stuff. You can see them like countering offers and stuff, and it'll like come out as like they're speaking, and there's like coins that appear coming out of their mouth, 3 coins and stuff, and like 3 coins will come out, and then like no, 2.5 and stuff. So it's like the way that this is realized is very creative and really cool, which is what I love about animation, because it doesn't have to confine to our reality. It's taking full advantage of the medium and it's just like really being creative. I like the way this tale, it kind of deals with like what is actually the problem. Like, are the rats the actual problem, or is it the humans who are kind of like and like have a moral decay in them? Are they the problems? Because like the rats, they're kind of almost portrayed in like a sympathetic light, even though they're kind of traditionally disgusting and gross and stuff. But the way that they are realized in their animation style and like how they're constructed is given more care than kind of these like harsh wooden figures of these people that are living in this town. And the way I don't want to like just like go on and on, but like this is a really inventively constructed and really fascinating like telling of this story. And from I never actually read the original story, but I was kind of like looking up on the internet, like kind of reading through like how that played out in its original form, and seeing and listening to the commentary track as well, learning about some of the ways that this story was interpreted like in this area of the world, and it's very fascinating. So this comes from a new restoration, and if you've ever bought anything from Deaf Crocodile, I think you'll know that their restoration like efforts are like impeccable. They don't put out like 50 releases a year, but the releases that they do put out, these guys, you can tell that they put like so much care into each effort, and they like really care about what they're putting out. And this is for like the real niche like collectors who like know stuff about labels and everything. But this has an encode from Fidelity in Motion, which is one of the better like encode like houses that are curating disc like throughout the world. They're like one of the, like if you know that it's a Fidelity in Motion encode, you can pretty much know that it's going to be like a really great release. So they have Fidelity in Motion encoding this. It looks great, pretty much flawless picture throughout, and it sounds good. It's the original Czech audio. And this has like a really nice amount of special features in addition to the booklet. It has the commentary track, like I mentioned, which there's a couple of historians on there. There is an additional short film. So if you feel that like, oh, this is like an under an hour long, is it worth my investment? There's another short film from the director included in this, which has been equally as lovingly restored, which is a really cool short film, like an animated short film about like a glove that's like, it's like an animated glove that's like kind of telling the history of cinema. I know that kind of sounds weird, but it's like going through like different eras. It's really pretty awesome. So that's been restored as well. There is a 13-minute behind the scenes like archival featurette, and then there's a new 53-minute interview with the director by one of the Deaf Crocodile founders. And it's a really informative interview, and it's really cool to get like, there's so many like kind of masters of animation from like an international perspective that really people don't really know a lot about, at least in America. So I like that this conversation is like recorded for like historical purposes, because if we don't talk to these people who like they're probably not giving many interviews these days unless there's something like this around the corner, I think we'll kind of learn a lot of these really interesting stories that we may have otherwise like we like people want to hear about like these animation techniques and how these projects came about. And like, yes, this is like Czechoslovakia, like, oh, I'm not over it, but like this is really, it's international cinema, it's really awesome. So Pied Piper from Deaf Crocodile, A+ release, like so good. And I highly recommend it to anyone who's a fan of stop motion animation, which I know we both are. So this is a really great release, so go pick it up. And also I say this with our Vinegar Syndrome titles, if you go to the Vinegar Syndrome website, I believe there's still some exclusive slip covers left. Last I saw, there was like 250 or so left. So get on it before they're out if you're interested. But otherwise, this is the standard release and it is also very great. So there you go.
Yeah, that sounds great. I feel like I am probably all but sold on picking that up.
No.
Well, it's nice. My husband might not like it, spending more
Yeah,
money on
I feel
movies,
that.
but it's all good. So no, that sounds really awesome though. So I know I can probably confidently speak for you when I say like we're both like big Adult Swim fans. I know you're a big Aqua Teen Hunger Force fan. Same. Venture Brothers. Are you a fan?
Absolutely. We
All
talked
right.
about this earlier this year, like whenever
That's
you
right.
did the complete series. It was great.
Go Team Venture!
So the movie just came out. And so that is my first release, which is Radiant is the Blood of the Baboon Heart. And so for a little context, thank you. I had to that's I got to sorry.
It's like a prison sentence.
We need Andre to put some bar sound effects in there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I got to talk to the creators. They were great. I'll link that in the description. Y'all should check it out. But I did mention the long title, and they thought it was really funny, and they thought that the studio was gonna like veto that. To their surprise, that they kept it. So, but what was funny was they were saying, oh yeah, it was kind of hard to fit it on like a poster and like the cover art. So there you can see how they got creative with that. Before I delve into this, I was maybe playing around with the idea of maybe doing a full YouTube review. If y'all are interested in that, chime in. So here it comes with a poster, and I'm gonna try not to rip it because I would also cry on camera.
Yeah. That's a big poster.
Yeah, this is really
It's
cool.
upside down though. It's upside down.
Oh, okay.
There we go.
But listen, you can hang it however you want. But
True.
yeah, no, very cool. Yeah, I did not appreciate just how big this was until I unfurled it. But very cool. Warner Brothers always really steps up their game with their like packaging and their extras. I know like Aqua Teen, I think, had a poster for the new movie, and Rick and Morty did as well. But so here's the back. We do have some featurettes, which is awesome. I don't believe that there's reversible art. No. So this will have a digital code. It is not in there, but if you order it, you will get one. So yeah, this was a lot of fun. It was really nice because as you mentioned, we talked about the complete series. So it was nice kind of going back, rewatching the original series. And I think for Venture Brothers fans, this movie is a really nice farewell to pretty much every sort of major plot thread. The creators really did a nice job at finishing some burning questions. And I think giving the characters a really nice send off. I really like how it seems a little anticlimactic, and I don't think this is a spoiler, but like just having like the remaining like Venture team just hanging out at the end seems so kind of weird and appropriate for the show. Kind of something I talked with the creators is not everything was addressed. There are some like deep cut characters that aren't mentioned, but as they said in the interview, just for time and pacing, some characters just kind of needed to be exercised. But the animation is great. Again, the creators told me that they had a bit bigger budget to work with, so you can clearly see that it's really nice looking. And yeah, I mean, it's not a big writer's room of people. It's like these two creators. This has been their baby. They know this show inside and out. Obviously, this is a labor of love, I guess, is what I'm trying to say, though, because they really took it to the finish line, I think, in a really cool way. There's a really fun montage of like clips of past Venture Brothers episodes. That's kind of utilized in a fun way and doesn't feel just like a clip show kind of moment. And I don't want to like spoil too much because there is a lot of really cool revelations. And if you haven't seen the series, you will most definitely be lost. I'm just, if y'all are wondering if you can just go into this, probably not. You might want to watch a video of recaps or something if you can't just binge the series. But yeah, this is for fans. Like this is literally like a last season just to kind of wrap everything up. I know the creators expressed to me that they want to do more Venture Brothers. It just depends on how this sells, how this, everything's kind of crazy. So who knows what's going on with Hollywood, but yeah, it's great. I love it. I'm really happy that we got a Blu-ray. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but there wasn't a 4K option for this, right? It was just strictly Blu-ray.
No, not for this one, no.
Okay. Which is a little disappointing, but I will say I'm thankful for a Blu-ray and not just a DVD. So there's that. Great movie. Love the features. Poster. Awesome. Yeah, just all good all around.
That I'm very excited about that. I loved watching the series again, and I haven't had a chance to check out the movie, but definitely going to probably throw that on this weekend because very big Venture Brothers fan. My next title, this is like probably the most different you can get from a Czechoslovakian stop motion animated film. This is a new rom-com from Sony, and this is Love Again, which I might need to retract that a little bit. It's not completely a rom-com. It's like rom-dramedy, I would say, because it's not like kind of like just like syrupy light. There's some very dramatic stuff that happens in here. I don't want to like spoil a lot of the plot, but I'll kind of break it down in its like barest essentials. It involves a woman played by Priyanka Chopra who, through circumstances, she is kind of moving on from her previous relationship, but she's kind of been in a bad place. She's been living with her parents for a couple of years, and she finally kind of like moves out of her parents' house and moves in with her sister. And it's just kind of like wrestling with whether she's ready to get into a new relationship. And this other man who I just realized as I was about to start talking about this title that I've never like heard his name. I've only seen it because he's one of the leads of Outlander. I'll just say Sam Heughan. I don't know, but he is a columnist at like a paper. He's also recently been left like a week before his wedding, and he's kind of like also wondering about his situation, like romantic situation. And at the same time, and to explain why award-winning musician Celine Dion is here, he has been assigned to kind of cover like her like upcoming tour and everything. So she plays herself, which is an interesting turn. But the kind of conceit of this is Priyanka's character. She starts texting a phone. I'm trying to be very vague about this. She starts texting a phone number that she feels comfortable confiding kind of her most innermost thoughts, that she believes this phone number is kind of like no longer active. And this guy, he's just gotten a new work phone, and he has that phone, and he's kind of like seeing kind of her innermost thoughts, and he starts to like fall in love with this person just through her writing. And he's not responding or anything. She's just kind of using it almost like as a diary, until it kind of eventually, like, he's like so enamored with her in his head that he kind of starts to like figure out how he can actually meet her in real life, and what he's going to say, if he's going to reveal what the situation is once he sees her, and like all that drama. So it's a kind of complicated conceit, especially when I'm trying not to spoil stuff. But I think it's a mostly successful romantic movie. I probably am a little bit easy on this one because I'm so starved for kind of like lighter heart, like moving content. But if you like romantic movies, I think this is at least a solid player, if not it's not spectacular, I would say, mostly because I think they have decent chemistry. But I think Sam, I go back and forth. Like, sometimes I find him to be very charming in this movie, and other times I'm like, I'm not sure if you're completely nailing what this character is supposed to be. Like, it's kind of like off and on. Priyanka, I think she's pretty much nailing her character throughout. And then the ensemble is pretty great as well. So, and I really love Celine Dion as herself, but I'm a huge Celine Dion fan. She's actually the last concert that I got to see before the whole pandemic happened.
Ooh,
so
nice.
And I will just say, one of the best moments I've ever seen. I saw this at another time at her Vegas show. She did the song that she did from Deadpool 2 with such conviction. Like, it was incredible. But I won't harp on that, but it was amazing.
That's cool.
But I love Celine Dion, and she has such a really amazing sense of humor that if you only have heard her singing, you don't know her personality. She's a stone cold weirdo, and I love her so much. But she's so funny in this movie. It's kind of like a sage, like, wisdom giver and stuff to like this reporter. But if you like romantic movies, it's pretty solid. It kind of follows like some conventions you've seen, probably even in some Hallmark movies, but like, it's better than a Hallmark movie. I'm starved for this content. So if you're also starved for this content, you'll probably really like it. If you are not a fan of the genre, there's better ones, but I find this to be charming enough, just for what I need it to be. Especially if you like these actors, I think you'll really like it. This is a really perfectly good Blu-ray, pristine video, like great audio. That has about a 9-minute behind the scenes featurette that's kind of surface level, but there's some fun anecdotes from the cast. There's 8 minutes of deleted scenes. There's some good moments in there, and some previews. But otherwise, it's pretty much what you expect from a studio offering these days. Not packed to the gills, but rock solid as far as what you want from it. So, Love Again. If you're interested, check it out. It's a Sony movie, so it'll probably be coming to Netflix in the near future if you want to like try before you buy. But yeah, overall, I recommend it. Just not to my fullest like heart in it.
Now, what I know you said this wasn't technically a rom-com, but what would you say is the most underrated rom-com in your opinion?
Underrated rom-com?
Mm-hmm.
13 Going on 30. It is amazing. It's
That's
like
a Jennifer Gardner run.
Yeah, it's like her version of Big, but like, it's so charming. Her and Mark Ruffalo and Judy Greer. It's so good. I love it so much. I love her, and I love that movie. And I think it's a 4K. I will flip shit and talk about it for like 5 hours on it. It'll be great.
Yeah, we're just gonna convert to a 13 Going on 30 podcast. So this is sort of bouncing off my last title, which is animation. Wow, I almost pronounced that very weird. This is Justice League Warworld in 4K. I'm so excited to get into this. Okay, so here's the cover. Really nice presentation. The back, and I don't believe that there's anything inside. Yeah, it's just the discs. Now, just like Venture Brothers, this has a digital code that's not in mine, but yours will be in there. Yeah, so this is one that was not on my radar, actually, and I really like it. And This is another one that I might maybe do a whole standalone review, if y'all are interested, because there is a lot to talk about, but I don't want to I'll be kind of brief with it. It's really intriguing. So we start out with, and this I was really excited that we got Jonah Hex and Wonder Woman in this Old West setting. And I thought that's who the character was supposed to be, but I wasn't sure. I try not to watch trailers. I try not to read anything. I try to just go into it super fresh. And I was really excited that Jonah Hex is in this. It's not a spoiler. I mean, he's in the promo material, but I was keeping away from all that stuff. But yeah, that was awesome. And then so you get 20 minutes of that, and you're thinking, okay, I'm kind of curious how this folds into everybody else's story. But then we get another, I think 20 minutes of another story with Batman, who has this sort of it's pictured there, or maybe we can get Andre to put a picture up, but which looks really cool there. In animation, it looks a little silly, the cow that's sort of made to be this sort of Viking-ish situation looked a little silly, but you get into it, and they have this amazing action sequence that kind of reminded me of Primal with fighting a dinosaur, and that was really cool. And there's some really awesome action. Then we get a pulpy sort of noir thing with Batman, and all this time I'm how is this connecting? So there's multiple stories. It kind of feels like an anthology, and I won't spoil it, but you do kind of find out how this all connects. And what's more exciting is it leads on what I think is a cliffhanger, where they sort of introduce this larger world. So I'm excited. I hope they follow that up. But yeah, everything's great. The animation is great. I think I've heard some complaints that people didn't sort of like the different stories, and they felt like it was disconnected, and you had to wait a long time until you figured out how it actually connected. I think that's a selling point. I actually kind of like that mystery. I thought it kept me more engaged. But your mileage may vary. We do get some nice featurettes on this disc. Looks absolutely fantastic in 4K. The animation is always top notch. The voice acting, I think it was Jason Eccles reprised his role as Batman. He's done that a few times before. I'm a big fan of his. Yeah, it's great. It was a lot of fun. I don't want to I didn't break down every story, because I kind of want you ought to be sort of surprised by where this goes, but I did want to give you sort of a rundown on some of the notable ones. Yeah, I think it's great. I love we got a 4K release of this, so that's so cool. Yeah, I'd say just I don't believe this is based on anything in canon right now, but it's a fun story, and I am amped up that we're probably going to get maybe a follow-up to this.
Yeah, I had a chance to check this one out, and I knew nothing about it because it's been so long since I wrote the announcement post for the website. But whenever I started embarking upon it, I did not realize it's not technically an anthology film, but that's pretty much how it kind of lays itself out to be. And I was like, oh, okay. But then the whole time I was like, Warworld seems like a very weird title for what this is until you get to the end. But I was just like, it was completely different from what I was expecting. So once I was acclimated, I was like, oh, okay. But I was like, this is just, it feels like this one feels like a Twilight Zone episode. And this feels like, I don't know, almost like The Thing. I don't even know what's going on. So it was very weird, but overall, I liked it. I need to probably give it another viewing to warm up to it completely. But I was just like, this is strange, but I'm glad that it's not conventional and boring. So overall, I thought it was pretty good.
Nice.
My next title, we're staying on the 4K train. This is once again from Sony, and it is what I consider a comedy classic. It is So I Married an Axe Murderer. So this one is Mike Myers. It's celebrating its 30th anniversary. It's a movie I've seen several times. This it only comes with a 4K disc, so you have to be 4K capable. But I think I'm probably going to find a way to slot my Blu-ray disc in here just for preservation tendencies. But I quite enjoy this movie. Now, yeah, it's not the funniest Mike Myers movie or anything, and there's like some dated elements, but I do just find it to be just very relaxing and comforting, and just also quite funny at points. I have like a joke that with my wife where like I'll just quote parts of this movie. Mostly it's the whoa man, like that, his little beat poetry thing. Yeah. Yes. Every time I like, and I do kind of parodies of that with my dog and stuff. So, but it's always in my head. I love it. But this is it's just a really solid movie. I really love, and we just lost him recently, and it kills me. But Alan Arkin's role in this as the police chief, who like kind of refuses to be the standard like hard ass like police chief, and he's just like, why would I do that? And he tries to like put on a show for his detective who really needs that. But I love Alan Arkin so much. But for those who don't know what this is about Mike Myers. He plays a character who's just kind of in every romantic relationship, he seems to find a flaw in whoever he's dating, and it's usually unreasonable. Like she says this word like weirdly, or she does this annoying thing, but he's just kind of like afraid of that kind of commitment, it seems like, until he meets this woman played by Nancy Travis, who seems she's a butcher, and she kind of seems to like potentially be the one. But he gets it in his head through this article that his mom read in like this like weekly rag where about like this woman who's kind of been like going around. I think her name's like Mrs. X or something, who goes around killing her husbands and stuff. So he begins to get in his mind that she is Mrs. X. But like eventually, like you see the evolution of their relationship and kind of where that kind of plays out, and just like whether he is like imagining things or whether she is actually this woman who will eventually kill him. And there's a lot of funny jokes. This isn't Wayne's World. This isn't Austin Powers. It's very different, but I still really like it. There's a lot of funny asides. He also does the
Scottish
trope
dad
of playing multiple characters.
Boy, head.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, it's a very funny movie. Not my absolute favorite Mike Myers, but it's just one that's like, if you're in the right mood, this just really hits the spot. And so this 4K, it looks really great. I do have the old Blu-ray, and I compared it, and it's a much bigger upgrade. This is from a new 4K scan. It's in Dolby Vision. It has Dolby Atmos audio, but where this is Sony we're talking about, so they're purists. They also include a 5.1 DTS track and the original 2.0. So you have 3 options for like English tracks. I think there's also other foreign language tracks that are also in lossless audio, so you're pretty set if you want to watch this in French but it not be in lossy audio. Tons of subtitles, and also that old release, there were really no special features. They've went into the archives. They've dug up, let's see how many, 27 deleted scenes totaling 32 minutes.
Wow.
And while these are not of like flawless quality, these are pretty solid. Like you could maybe mistake them for like a DVD at some points, besides some like the damage that pops up. It's a pretty good quality. And there's a lot of really funny moments. There's like an alternate intro that kind of delves into like the Mrs. X stuff a little bit more, like right from the jump. There's a lot of really funny asides with his best friend, and like with Nancy Travis's character and her sister, all this kind of stuff. There's a lot of good stuff. So I'm glad that Sony, if they're going to be celebrating the 30th anniversary, they're giving fans the bang for their buck. In addition to looking a lot better, sounding better, it also has special features now, so that's great. So if you're a fan of this movie, you now have the ultimate release from Sony. They always do a great job. They did not let me down. I love that they picked the most random titles for 4K upgrades, but that's why I'm hoping that they do 13 going on 30 sometime, because that's also Sony. But So I'm Married an Axe Murderer. A great release. I love it.
Yes, if you could not tell from my excitedness and my just shouting, and I know that's rude, but I just like shouting quotes and stuff. I just also wanted to mention Amanda Plummer is in this, and I adore her. And I also mentioned that because she's in another movie that I'm going to be covering shortly on this episode. Nice. So this is, a really good show if you're a Amanda Plummer fan. Maybe she watches the show. That would be amazing.
That'd be wild.
Yeah, she could come on anytime, honestly. Just on anything, period. But yeah, that's amazing. I'm gonna so now I'm moving away from animation. We are getting into some old school, but so this is an animation, but this is based on a series of comic books, French comic books, that is Tintin. So this comes from Kino Classics, and here's the back, slipcover, of course, no double-sided artwork, although I do have a release that does have some alternate cover art, but not yet. Just a little tease. Okay. So now have you seen these yet?
I've seen the first one in like 10 minutes of the second one.
All right. So I asked because the captain is super distracting with the super fake beard and the fake nose.
Yeah, I was gonna mention, if you didn't mention it, that it kind of takes on kind of a Popeye aesthetic, like Robert Altman's Popeye. Like it's kind of like it embraces kind of that comic look of the like source material. But I can understand where it'd be a little bit distracting.
Yeah, and I think that's a great point, because I think that's that comic book artifice sort of what saves it from being too jarring. But I'm still like, you could just find a guy with a beard and a nose like that. But okay, go off, whatever. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on these, but they are pretty interesting. I definitely prefer the first one over the second one, but let's get into it. So the first one is pretty fun. I think like what I liked and I really appreciate about the first film in particular, and this is sort of where the second one I think goes a little bit overboard, is the comedy is very broad and over the top at times, but I think at least in this first one, it sort of has this nice balance. And I kind of liken it to the Pink Panther movies, for example, like particularly the early Pink Panther films, where they're in this sort of normal world, but then you have this cartoon character of like Clouseau, who just sort of bumbles around and is like over the top. And that's kind of how like the world of Tintin, at least the first one, sort of works. It's like this mostly grounded reality, although there's a little bit of like a hyper reality, which again I think is sort of where this sort of comic book aspect kind of comes from, which I like. It has a nice balance. Like some of the humor is maybe a little bit too over the top, but overall I liked it. One of the things I didn't like though is I thought the pacing was really bad. Like there's times when the plot's moving along, stuff's going down, and they'll take a stop for like dancing, like a dancing montage of the captain dancing around and stuff. And I'm like, okay, cool, but like pick it up. I mean,
yeah.
But anyways, overall, I mean, I'm not going to spoil the ending, but I liked how, I mean, right away, I kind of knew, I sort of semi-guessed the mystery, and you've seen it, so you know what I'm talking about, but like, I didn't quite know how they were gonna, I know it sounds awkward, but I'm trying not to spoil anything, but like, it was a little bit predictable, but it still had some nice surprises. The kid playing, or is he a kid? I don't know. He might just be a grown adult made to look like a kid, which is a little uncanny valley-y, but you know, you kind of get used to it. So the second one just really leans into the comedy, and it's certainly more of a cartoon, like a live action cartoon, than the first film. And I don't mind that. It's not like I hate really broad comedies. Again, I think like I always bring like Pink Panther, like A Shot in the Dark. I bring those up because I think they do that really well. Like it's this grounded reality, but then it has these very broad, very over the top sort of comedy. And that I love. I just don't think that the mix is right here. It's fairly interesting. I do like how they lean into this weird sort of sci-fi. It's just very more sort of trippy and surreal, and I kind of dug that. They recast the captain, and that's a little jarring because I watched these back to back, so it was like kind of weird. It's particularly weird because they keep the main cast the same, like the kid or guy, grown adult who plays Tintin is the same. Yeah. The like goofy professor guy that looks like the Riddler. Did you notice that? Were you getting Riddler vibes from like his?
I can see it now, yeah.
That was also very distracting. But anyways, and it's funny because like there's a picture here of them sciencing with like beakers and stuff. And my husband's an actual scientist and chemist and stuff. So when he sees stuff like that, it's hilarious because like it's like, why is that stuff blue? Like, why is this? It's like, you know, so it looks sciencey, but he always gets a kick out of that. But anyways, it's fine. I think as a set, this is really cool. I will say I was super disappointed that there's no commentary tracks. There's no featurette on the source material. When you're doing something like that's based on a historic property like Tintin, I think you are doing a little bit of a disservice when you don't kind of add some context to that. And I love Kino. I love that they put this out. It's just a minor sort of gripe. I just kind of I think like a commentary track or a featurette would have just put this over the top for me. But they look overall really nice. Just having these out in a nice little collection is awesome. The movies itself, I could see people liking maybe like the first one. The second one for me was just a little bit too like silly, and I just think that like that's fine if the comedy has to really land for that to work. But your mileage may vary, is just to say. So fun collection. I just wish there would have been like a featurette or something.
Yeah, it sounds like since I haven't finished the second film, I'll be tempering my expectations. So we'll see how it goes.
I mean, it's enjoyable enough. It's just, again, it also suffers from like really not great pacing, but yeah,
I did feel like these movies were a little bit longer than they needed to be. I was surprised that they were both like an hour 40 something. I was like, oh, okay, that's interesting. My next title is from MPI Media Group, and it is the 2022-2023 release of Whisper of the Heart, depending on what territory we're talking about. This is okay. I'm going to fully admit I probably needed to rewatch something to get more out of this so I can more confidently speak about it, but I did not have time. But this is either a live action remake or a combination remake / sequel to the original Studio Ghibli movie Whisper of the Heart. This is the Disney Blu-ray. I just kind of brought it out for presentation purposes. I think this is more so the latter of like remake / sequel, because there are certain elements I do not remember from this other film, but it's been almost a decade, so I could be misremembering. But what this is, so at the very beginning of the film, you see these two young kids who they're basically like promising their love for one another, but they each have to go like their separate ways because like they have to go to school or whatever. But they're like kind of are being like, I love you, like we will come back together and stuff. And then it like kind of flashes forward 10 years in the future, and they're both kind of like they're adults. The woman has just kind of come back to start living at home and like kind of figure out her life. The guy, he's starting to get settled in his career. I believe he's a cellist. They're both kind of like at that point where like maybe they're thinking about kind of getting together and like, but they're all kind of like each kind of in their own worlds at this moment. And you get a lot of like the where they are at this point, but also reflecting back about how they got to that point. And you do see them kind of their initial like coming together whenever they were young, and like how there was a little bit of a combative nature at the beginning until they realized like, oh, like I actually do really like you. The things I found annoying was like is actually because of this other like it's just kind of like misunderstandings. So it's like a love story, it's a coming of age story, but then it's also figuring out where these characters ended up and how they're going to proceed now. And from what my memory is, why I think this is more so a sequel is I think in the original material, the original anime, I don't think that they showed the older versions of the characters. I think it was all just their younger love story. So I think that this is taking the opportunity to expand upon that original story, taking out some of like the extra stuff and using that time to devote to the older versions of themselves and kind of figuring out how those characters ended up and like what like how that goes from there. If I'm wrong, I apologize to Studio Ghibli fans. Like I said, it's been like a decade but I do not remember like an older storyline in the original. But due to that, I think that this is not a completely like, it's not an abomination or anything compared to like take this property and make this movie just because it's live action. I think that they are respectful of the original material. Is obviously not as good as the original because like there's a quality of animation and anime that's just like it's hard to top in live action like certain elements, but it's not the most fantastical anime, so it lends itself to being adapted as a live action property because it is more just like kind of a straightforward drama and a love story and just like figuring your shit out. But there's like a anthropomorphized cat in the original, which they do have here, but it's kind of done in interesting ways. Like this is a statue. There is a live action also version of the cat, but it's also it's not like a creepy CGI like Lion King like this cat. And how they kind of utilize this, it's toned down from what I remember of the original. And it's kind of used very deliberately in this one. So it's kind of like paying homage to the original material, but like doing something a little bit different. Overall, I liked it. Like I said, it's not the anime, but it's something different. And if you treat it as something different, I think you will kind of have like a better chance of appreciating it. This Blu-ray, no special features, but it looks really good. It comes with the original Japanese audio or an English dub. Obviously, I always like champion the original language, but if you just can't do subtitles, this does have English, an English dub. And otherwise, it's a solid disc. No bells and whistles, but just looks good, sounds good. That's it. And the movie's pretty solid as well. So if it interests you, check it out. Just know that this won't make your beloved anime like disappear. It's still there if you love it. This is just something a little bit different.
Nice. Yeah, that sounds really interesting. I'm just starting to sort of get into Studio Ghibli movies myself. So yeah, that seems like a really nice kind of a sequel, sort of like a companion piece to that. Sounds like that might be maybe something I could like double feature. I don't know a good segue into my next one. So we're just gonna jump right in, and this is the one that does have reversible cover art, and that is Human Desire by Fritz Lang. So also this cover is a vibe. Look at this.
Yeah, that's intense.
Yeah. So now we do have some extras, and which I mean that one's kind of cool too, but I don't know. I dig this one more.
Yeah,
But now have you seen this one yet?
I have.
Okay, so I really like this. I think this kind of falls into the less is more kind of category. Like I think the creepiest sort of moment in this is the fact that this guy like not only like kills this woman's lover, but also like makes her watch. And that's like super messed up, but also like I think because they don't show you the murder, it's a little bit more I think, impactful, at least in my opinion. But you know, it's a Fritz Lang noir, so you get a lot of twists and turns, some really interesting moments. Like I think Lang is really able to sort of like milk a lot of tension out of scenes. For example, there is a I guess it's like a court thing where they're trying to figure out like, okay, who witnessed what on this train, and like they have Glenn Ford's character, and you think like Gloria Graham's character is like dead to rights, like he saw her, he interacted with her on the train moments before this murder took place, and it really like utilizes that tension of like, okay, is he gonna rat her out, like how is this going to play out? Like I'm not going to spoil it, but like I bring that up because it's these moments that I think Lang does a really good job of understanding where that tension comes from and how to sort of take maybe like a smaller scale story but still build it up to something interesting. Narrative wise, is it amazing? Not really. It's fine. I like this sort of weird love triangle. I mean, this is very much in the Hays Code era, so there's a lot of stuff that I wish they could have pushed the envelope with a little bit. But you know, if somebody like murders somebody or commits a crime, they usually have to pay for it somehow. So that does sort of take a little bit of the mystery or tension away. But yeah, it's really good. I think the acting's great. Even like old movies that Glenn Ford was in, like Glenn Ford always just kind of looked old to me.
Yeah.
I don't know how you feel about that, but yeah, Gloria Graham is amazing. She's such a knockout. She's so talented. She, I think, is like one of these really underappreciated actresses of her era. And yeah, Human Desire, this one might not be on everybody's radar like film noir wise, but I think it's pretty fun. Again, it kind of has this sort of undercurrent of like sexual perversion, but it never really can fully go there. But it does have some genuinely creepy moments. I think it's definitely worth checking out. It's not the most groundbreaking noir, but I liked it. Next week I'm going to be reviewing another film noir set, so we're going to be on this noir train. So yeah, Human Desire, really good. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, and you kind of mentioned this, but like even whenever the plot is more pedestrian, Fritz Lang usually his camera work or just kind of his overall vibe just kind of elevates things. So yeah, I enjoyed that one as well, even though like I said, it's not the most like fresh plot, but it's a solid movie. You actually teed me up. This worked out very well because we like as professional as we look, we don't always plan out how we're going to lay out our titles, but this segues into my film noir of the week. This is from Classic Flicks, and this is Blonde Ice, which you gotta love that cover art. It's just like
that's great.
She's serving right now. So even more so inside, I'll show you this great interior art.
Pulled out.
Yeah. So like there she is, just looking fierce, and here's like nice. Over here. Yeah. So I had never heard of this movie, but of course, Classic Flicks rescues a lot of forgotten films for me, and I usually enjoy them, and this is no exception. Kind of like Human Desire, this one, its plot is not like revolutionary, but it's completely entertaining. It's about like a woman who at the beginning of the film, she is like just now getting married, and her like she invited some of her old suitors she's had relationships to come to the wedding, and they're all kind of just like, you're here, they're all just kind of like oddly like, why is she inviting all of us to her wedding? And of course she holds the flame for at least one of them, and kind of how this kind of unfolds is just like a series of her like either like cheating on her current husband or like defending herself from like a man and like getting involved and then them ending up dead or somehow in harm's way. It's just kind of like a cascading system where this femme fatale is just kind of like, she's bad news. So she's always like in a situation where like someone is going to like get killed, get put in jail, something, and she like usually finds a way like she has like an airtight alibi and stuff, but like usually like she's behind it in some form. So it's just kind of like seeing this woman's development and just where her story eventually goes. And it's pretty good. Like, it's, like I said, not revolutionary, but it's a perfectly entertaining noir. If you're a noir fan, I think you'll really enjoy it. If you're a noir novice, I think there's probably some that more classics you need to like check out first. But if you're like going for those deep cuts, Blonde Ice is not bad. And it has like a great tagline: ice in her veins, icicles on her heart. Wow. Someone got a raise from that one. That's a pretty great. Perfectly solid noir. Classic Flicks did a good job. This has been restored from 35 millimeter elements in combination with the BFI. And while not flawless, it looks really great. There's a little bit of softness here and there, a few nicks and stuff that kind of remain, but overall, you can tell this has been like lovingly restored. Looks good. Sound is good. No special features besides trailers, if you want to count those. I don't usually, but they are there for other Classic Flicks releases, most of which I've covered on this show. So they would be familiar to most of you. But yeah, Classic Flicks did a good job with Blonde Ice. If you're a film noir fan, check it out. They usually do good work. I like to support them because they are, once again, a label that they're not releasing like 100 movies a year like Kino, but they deserve your support because they're doing their own thing and they're doing a really good job at it.
I echo that. Every time I hear Classic Flicks, I'm really excited because I know they put out some really interesting stuff. And like you said, they don't maybe put out the volume of other labels, but you have that quality there. So that's what's important. So my next one, I was trying to do this, like figure out how to do like a good impression, but this is Sean Connery, and it's so
Yes.
awful. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Sorry, you all need to hear that. And Donald Sutherland in The Great Train Robbery. And here we are. You have Sean Connery. It's so awful. I'm so sorry I keep doing it. So
you know that meme of like that says like sickos and it's the person like standing outside of the window like, yes, that's how I feel right now.
Nice. This one also has some alternate cover art, and again, I kind of like the what they started out with, but this is good too. This is a little bit like, I mean, they're both a little sexy, so I think this one's maybe a little bit more so, but yeah, we bring the sex appeal, we bring it to you every ball, so so yeah, I was really intrigued because Michael Crichton directed this. He of course wrote Jurassic Park, a lot of other classics. This was a Dino De Laurentiis production, and it was definitely a very lavish, big budget production, and I thought it was overall good. I'll elaborate, of course. So in terms of action set pieces, this movie is awesome. From a technical standpoint, the budget allows for really great costumes. This is set in Victoria era London. And it's extremely well shot. The director of photography was Jeffrey Unsworth. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. He won 2 Oscars, and for his work in cinematography, and he's done such iconic films like Superman, Murder on the Orient Express, 2001: A Space Odyssey. So needless to say, this looks really incredible as well. That being said, I think the pacing is really awkward at times. This is nearly 2 hours, and it frankly doesn't need to be. It's a little bit dialogue heavy, and like there's really intriguing stuff that you want to it keeps you invested, but it makes it a little bit of a slog because you just kind of want to get to the next progression of the story. There's this sort of like, okay, they're trying to get all these keys, they're trying to write like so they can do this heist, and yes, I'm into it, but like let's just keep going. Like there's stuff that feels like it could have either been trimmed down or just taken out completely. But great performances. Sean Connery, obviously from my bad accent, is great. I thought he was kind of like a shitty human being, but I liked him in movies, so I feel very two ways about that. But Donald Sutherland is also great. This is a pairing I never thought I really like. I didn't realize I needed, but it is a really good sort of team up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a great movie. I now correct me if I'm wrong, but this commentary from Michael Crichton was a port over from another release. Do you know?
I'm not sure. I kind of get this confused with because Kino's been doing a lot of re-releases lately that we've talked about, like Gorky Park and Juggernaut. I don't think this is a part of that wave, so I'm not exactly sure.
Yeah, but regardless, it's a great commentary track. It's really nice hearing from like the director. Obviously that's like a lot of fun. I think the commentary track could be a little like it would have been nicer if he was with somebody, but it's pretty good. Again, the movie itself is fine. I think that it has so many great things. Again, acting, the way it looks, the production design, the cinema, just everything, but like it just needed a brisker pace, but I liked it overall. It's a fun watch. It's kind of like, I tell you what, it's kind of one of those like you put it on the weekend, maybe you're a little hungover, it's sort of like a perfect kind of like that sort of watch. Or maybe is kind of good with like a group of people too, that because some of it is a little bit so bad it's good. So yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I watched that one and I pretty much exactly agree with your like assessment. I think it's good. It's just it did not need to be as long as it is. Like it could have been like an hour 40 or less, maybe, like, and still been just as entertaining, probably more so. So, but it's worth a watch especially if you like those actors. So I'm going to do two right now. I'm doing a comedy double feature. I don't think this would make a good double feature as a comedy, but I am personally giving this as a double feature. And this next one I chose because as of this recording, and it'll be going on as this is released, the Women's World Cup is starting. So everyone is going to have soccer fever. So of course, I'm covering Will Ferrell's Kicking and Screaming, which is a family comedy that I watched back when it was in theaters in 2005, and I've seen it a couple times since. And while it is not a classic for him, it is just kind of more of like a warm, enjoyable family comedy if you're kind of in that mood. It has Will Ferrell, and Robert Duvall plays his dad, and Will Ferrell plays this character who his dad has never really kind of given him that respect that he's always wanted. He's like a very competitive person, and he's like, Will Ferrell's character is not anyone who could ever like succeed in athletics and stuff. He kind of went a different way. So he's grown up, and his son has been playing on his dad's soccer team. And his dad is so ruthless that he cuts his grandson, and he has to go to another soccer team who conveniently the coach just had a mental breakdown. So they need a new soccer coach, and Will Ferrell kind of gets thrust into this role. So Will Ferrell as a soccer coach to these young kids, that's the basic premise. And hilarity ensues, but like family friendly PG hilarity. But I like this movie. There's a lot of funny jokes. I played soccer when I was younger, so I kind of have like an additional warmth for this sport. All the little kids, they have kind of funny asides. They like none of them are too like annoying or anything, but they're all very believable as kids. Will Ferrell, he's not too over the top. He's not like a dumb over the top. The only kind of ridiculous thing they do, but they make it funny, is he is a person who's like never really drank coffee, but he's kind of introduced to coffee, and he gets like obsessed. He's almost like a Coke addict, where he just gets amped up. It's very funny. There's also an appearance from sports icon Mike Ditka. He kind of ends up being Will Ferrell's assistant coach. There's also some other great performers that you would know. There's a very young Josh Hutcherson who would end up being in the Hunger Games movies. he plays like Will Ferrell's younger brother who happens to be the same age as his son, and it's just a really funny gag. But yeah, overall, Kicking and Screaming is it's a pleasant movie if you're in that kind of family friendly vibe, and if you're, like I said, if you're watching the World Cup and you want more soccer, it's not a bad time. And this release from Universal, I think it came out like a year or two ago. I think it's probably an older master. It's not like a crisp remaster, but it looks good. I think the skin tones maybe look slightly pink / warmish, but overall, it's a good transfer overall for being as old as it is and not being remastered. It's pretty solid. I didn't see much in the way of like digital artifacts or anything like that. The soundtrack is good, and they poured over all the special features from the DVD. So there's so a handful of deleted scenes, some outtakes, some featurettes about like the kids getting in shape for the soccer elements, just working with kids, and just kind of like the atmosphere on set, like a making of. So Kicking and Screaming is a pretty solid family comedy if you're in the mood. Something not so family friendly. This is from Paramount. This is Kids in the Hall Brain Candy.
Yes.
So yeah, this one I'd never seen before, but I'm a Kids in the Hall fan. I had collected all the DVD sets as they came out, and so I was interested to check this one out. And so this one, it's kind of a mixture of like kind of sketch based, but within like an overarching narrative. And that narrative is the brain candy, which is there's like some scientists in a lab who create a new pill that's supposed to basically cure depression and like makes everyone like kind of like deliriously happy. So you have a competing elements of like all the kind of the corporate like drug like pharmaceutical bureaucracy and kind of all of that entails of just like rushing a drug to market and all this like stuff. But then there's also all the people who are taking this drug, so you get little like glimpses of different like people, and all of them are like composed of the 5 members of the sketch group who are like doing anything and everything. There's a bunch of like men dressing up as women, which there are elements of this movie that are like definitely not appropriate anymore or like PC, but they're still pretty funny. And like there's like one segment like where like this guy, he's a closeted guy, and he's like his whole family knows that he's gay, but he doesn't know that he's gay. Like he doesn't know. So it's like kind of like there's a runner with that goes kind of some amusing places. And while like some of it is kind of cringeworthy, they end up making it funny in a way. This whole crew, like some of them are pretty sexually ambiguous as it is. So like I think it's like done with like an open heart. But there is a little bit of just stuff that just doesn't age well. Just like it's but they have always kind of been more of like on the crude kind of like off color type of comedy. Overall, I would say this is a good movie, but it's not something as like the best of like a comedic troupe. Like this isn't like a Monty Python caliber movie for me, but it is a very like funny, entertaining movie. So overall, didn't quite live up to my expectations of like how many laughs I was expecting, but overall it's solid. And there's no special features. It seems to be like a dated master, so there you do see a little bit of like nicks and stuff here and there, a little bit of softness to the picture. The audio sounds pretty good. There's not really any dropouts or anything. So mainly the win is having this on Blu-ray for fans of the sketch group, but I wish they would have had some cool special features or something. If you're interested, it's out from Paramount. I got a press disc. I think some of these may ship as like a burn disc, but even though there's like the indicator that this might be a burn disc, this is actually a press disc. So 50-50 chance on which one you might get, but it's a pretty solid release.
Nice. Yeah, I was really curious because about when I saw you were covering this, because one, I really like this, but I haven't seen it in a while. So I'm curious.
I think you would kind of do a little bit of like several times throughout the movie.
I remember there is a musical montage when he finally comes out. It's really over the top. And so this was like I'll make this like short, but like would record like movies off of TV because I'm old, and then for kids, that's what we used to do.
I did
And
too. I did too.
okay, because I know you're a little bit of more of a youngster, but yeah, like so I had the most random movies that I recorded and would watch all the time, and that was just happened to be one of them.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm glad I'm glad it's on Blu-ray. I know that was kind of infamously not on Blu-ray for a while, or it was kind of out of print. Like there was just like a pretty dated DVD release. It sucks that the transfer's not great. Maybe we can get a 4K in the future, but we'll see. Speaking of 4K, I have my next two titles, not back to back, but my next two turns is going to be 4K releases, and this is Needful Things. And I was really, really excited to get this in and watch it because I have not seen this prior. So this was really fun. So here's the back. And I know we say this a lot, but if you want the slipcover, if that's important to you, you want to get it kind of early. This no alternate covers, the discs. So
and that's a great slipcover too.
Oh yeah, I love this, and I also did a little checking, and this I know you were just saying about how Kino has been doing some re-releases of some of their out of print titles. I believe they did a 2015 release of this that was strictly Blu-ray, and I don't think it really had any features, or if it did, it wasn't a lot. Let me just
I'll grab my copy. So put up a please stand by for me, Andre.
But I loved it. I also wanted to just to note that this does have the TV cut as a separate disc, which is really awesome. And it does have also some like other additional features, like the interview with the screenwriter. So what did you come up with?
Yeah, so here's the original Blu-ray, one disc. This has a audio commentary and theatrical trailer, so no television cut or anything, just commentary, and that's it.
Nice. So yeah, that's great to know. So yeah, if you are thinking of upgrading, 4K, obviously that's awesome. You do get a TV cut that I guess it also is been cleaned up a little bit for this release, and you get that Devil in the Details interview with screenwriter W.D. Richard. So that's awesome. So what did I think of the movie? I loved it. I thought it was really great. At first I was like 2 hours. Like it's not that I hate long movies, but like there's so few movies that I feel like really utilize that time well. And I thought this absolutely did. I liked how it kind of took its time. It does get right to, the guy moving into the shop, and it brings you fairly quickly on board of like who these like characters are. You don't get a lot of time to sort of be informed about them, but it's well written, so through their actions you can kind of extrapolate what these characters are sort of like, what this town is like. It's shot in that very dreamy, creepy kind of way. This is obviously a Stephen King. This is Castle Rock, which is his fictional sort of like town / universe. I'm still upset Castle Rock the series is not a thing, and it makes me mad and upset, but we're not going to process those feelings today. We're going to talk about this. So yeah, it was fun. I think Max von Sydow is just amazing in this. It's just a testament to his acting that he can sort of play this very sinister, devilish character, but then he knows exactly where the line is, like when never to go fully over the top, but yet not underplay it either. There's that really nice balance that he can sort of utilize. It's something that seems easy, but it only seems easy to like you and me. Like for skilled actors, it's yeah. Amanda Plummer, I also mentioned, is in this and is amazing. And if y'all have seen this movie, you know how kooky and crazy and wonderful she is in this. We get a knife versus axe or no, sorry, meat cleaver situation,
Uh,
which is very gruesome, pretty fun. That's another thing that's really interesting about this movie is like tone wise. It's very, I mean, it is horror first and foremost, but it has this playful humor that I think as the movie goes on, it gets a little more overt. It almost maybe goes a little too much, but yeah, I really liked it. Again, my first time watching it, so I this is something that I want to sort of like delve into some more, but yeah, it looks fantastic. So this is a 4K scan from the original 35 millimeter camera negative, and I think the colors are overall like really well balanced. There's of course you have that really nice like film texture. Like it wasn't sort of like smooth to hell and looks really unnatural. It has that sort of nice film looking quality to it. And it sounds great. Again, if you were wondering if you should upgrade this, it has new features. And of course, you know, you get the 4K disc of the TV cut as a separate disc. So it's kind of a no-brainer. Even if you have this release you needed, and if you were somebody that like thought maybe you were going to have to pay through the nose to get the out of print Blu-ray, like Kino Studio Classics has you covered. This is a really fantastic release. I'm actually like, I'm excited to watch this again. It's great.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Isn't the television cut like an hour longer? Isn't it 3 hours long? Does it say on the back?
Yeah,
Because
so it is a 191-minute TV cut, which
yeah, so
is
that's
but
intense. That's over an hour more of footage.
yeah, and I honestly I didn't have time to delve into the TV cut, but like if y'all are really interested, I could do like a comparison thing video. Chime in the comments if y'all want that. I'll do it. I think I'm gonna try to like to dive into the TV cut over the weekend, but I'm kind of curious like what more they are adding to us. But yeah, it's a lot.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm excited. That's especially going to be an exciting watch around Halloween. So very excited. We're getting closer to that. My final title is from Showtime. This is the limited series Super Pumped, The Battle for Uber, which is another Showtime limited series that is no longer on the network. You cannot find it on Paramount Plus. They have pulled it, but physical media has you covered. You have this on Blu-ray, and I don't always see all the shows that Showtime are putting out. So I actually learned about this show via its Blu-ray release. I'm like, oh, I missed that limited series completely. But I was very excited because I love this cast. Joseph Gordon-Levitt plays the main character, but there's also Kyle Chandler, my beloved Kyle Chandler from Friday Night Lights. He's in this, and then Uma Thurman and a host of other great people. Elizabeth Shue plays Joseph Gordon-Levitt's mom, and I love her to death. But there's been a spate of shows recently where it's just like kind of like taking a social network-esque dive into different companies and stuff. There's just The Dropout with Amanda Seyfried on Hulu, looking into like the Theranos stuff. So this has kind of been kind of like a genre unto itself. I was wondering, do I need to learn about Uber? And while maybe I don't, I still found this to be a pretty solid viewing experience. I think if you enjoy something similar to like Adam McKay's The Big Short, kind of that kind of vibe, this is pretty much right in that kind of vein. Probably a lot of people in the audience that you've probably taken an Uber or a rideshare service, and it's interesting to kind of get that background where you've kind of heard in the news of just like how Uber as a company has kind of been shady. Sometimes they seem kind of reckless, and you get quite a bit of that in here, just kind of seeing kind of like the shark-like business decisions that these characters are taking, trying to actually make rideshare like into existence, like will it into existence whenever you just had taxis up until this time. All like the like regulations that they were fighting against for good or for bad. It's just a very interesting take on just like how like disruptive, like how it's a disruptor of this sector, how it kind of came about, and just kind of what decisions this company made and how it still impacts our lives today, because it's kind of like totally change how the taxi business is. It's like put a lot of people, traditional taxi drivers, out of business, and just kind of it like shaped the landscape. And this is a 7-episode series, so it doesn't really overstay its welcome, thankfully. But still, it's not perfect. There's like some things I could really see kind of being tightened up or explored a little bit further. But as it is, it's a pretty solid series. It can be a little bit obnoxious at some points. There's a voiceover narration at times by none other than Quentin Tarantino, and you know how intense he can be. So he's dropping a lot of F-bombs and being like really like edgy and stuff. And I'm just like, this is a really aggressive narration. So there's like stuff like that that's kind of woven throughout the series. But overall, it's a very fascinating story. And if you want to see it dramatized by some really great actors, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, this is one of his better performances in recent years. I feel like he's been kind of shuffled off to the side a little bit, whereas I think he's a really talented performer. He just hasn't been like in a lot of like A-list stuff recently, but he does a really good job in this. And if you're a limited series fan, you don't have to worry about like following this for like 5 seasons. This is just like 7 episodes and you're done. Pretty solid viewing experience. And this Blu-ray, this actually is a burn disc, so I know there are certain players out there that don't work well with them. I do want to like make that known. I'm not sure if there is a luck of the draw where you might get a pressed version, but these are manufactured on demand. But they look really good. Solid video quality. The audio is DTS 5.1. Sounds really great. No special features, but just 7 episodes on 3 discs. So not really like compression issues or anything like that. Just if you are tired of like shows being disappeared from streaming, Paramount and Showtime are still helping you out to some extent. So I'm glad this exists for those who want to have access to it. So super pumped. The Battle for Uber. It's a pretty solid release with pretty entertaining limited series.
Nice. I also want to just slightly just disagree with you. Joseph Gordon-Levitt was the dong in Glass Onion, so he was in something really important and monumental.
That's true.
He did the dong. Just letting you know that was pretty awesome.
I apologize. I know his collaborations with Ryan Johnson. I apologize.
But that actually like segues really great into my final title. This is also a TV show. And I was so insanely excited to have it in 4K, and that is The Last of Us. And so I want to show off this really nice packaging. You see, I don't know if you can see, it's like slightly raised. That's awesome. So I'm gonna pop this bad boy open. So we have the episode list, and we have the gatefold things like yours had, and I like that. I think that's sort of my preferred way of them doing discs. We do have some really nice features. So Warner Brothers didn't just dump this release. They put some like love into it. And this series was definitely like my husband and I's, like, we watch it every week, like religiously excited. So I will say I'm not really big into like post-apocalyptic stuff. I don't know, like, because it's so like close to reality that it just sort of bums me out, and I don't know. But I'm glad that I gave this a chance because it's really great. The writing is excellent. I kind of love how this is sort of an updated sort of lone wolf and cub situation. It's funny because you can also kind of say that about the Mandalorian, which also has Pedro Pascal. It's really great. And I also wanted to highlight like one episode in particular. Long Time was the episode, and I think it's the one with Nick Offerman, and it's just sort of a bottle episode, and I think it is maybe one of the best of the year, if not maybe in recent memory of like queer TV, and like this really amazing story that it just sort of is captured in just one really fantastic episode. And I think I heard that episode was maybe nominated for an Emmy.
That wouldn't surprise me. People loved it. So yeah.
Like if it hasn't been, it should be, because it's really fantastic. And like we were both just mentally wrecked for a few days after that. But that's the point. Like I like that TV can do this, and I also like how this kind of proves that, like, yeah, a video game adaptation can translate really well onto the screen. And I think this is among the best video game adaptations. And speaking of the Emmys, I think, like, I'm not wrong in saying this is the first video game adaptation to be nominated for some Emmys. So that's awesome. I love how this is sort of breaking down barriers, because I always think like video games always had really great dramatic stories. We just were kind of thinking them as lesser sort of storytelling devices, but I think that's hopefully going to change some people's perspectives on that. So yeah, it's great. I mean, I love how it's an overarching story, but it also sort of feels a little like week to week we do get new characters, we get new situations, so it always feels fresh. It's very bleak, but there's also that fun element to it, which sounds weird, but like I think, you know, the characters, I mean, particularly Ellie's character can be hilarious, and she really brings this sort of bright energy. And I mean, I love that character. I just love this show. It's really fantastic.
Yeah, I love that show. I recently just reviewed it for the site, like the written version, and it's a really great release. There's a lot of featurettes and stuff on there, so that's a really good release for fans.
Yeah, and if you've only like streamed it at this point, like this is such an upgrade. It just looks really nice. I mean, this really feels like this is like how it was intended to be seen, like just on this beautiful 4K. I mean, it's not a particularly colorful show, but I mean, the visuals are very striking. So I'm so happy that we have a really nice 4K presentation. Sounds really great as well. And again, has some really great featurettes. So just win all the way around. Thank you, Warner Brothers, for putting this out. Just awesome stuff.
Absolutely.
And with that, we are gonna wrap. But before we do, tell the fine folks about the
Yes, we have this giveaway going on for Swamp Thing on 4K from MBD Entertainment. You just finished watching us talk about all these great releases. So all you have to do to be in consideration to win is drop a comment. Let us know which release we talked about you are most excited to check out, and you will be entered to win Swamp Thing on 4K. Very exciting. Like I said, I will be talking about this at length on next week's episode, so make sure to return. You also have another opportunity to earn more chances to win. But yeah, just leave those comments. Let us know. Let us know what you're thinking.
Yeah, and as you pointed out, we haven't done a giveaway in a little while, so that's really exciting. And that's such a great giveaway. Like usually we'll do like digital codes and stuff, but like yeah, that's I'm very jealous. I wish I could like be entered to win, but you can be. So you know, as you said, just leave a comment about what you're most excited about from the films and TV stuff that we've talked about. So, and as always, just please subscribe to the channel. We put out this show weekly, but there's other really great content on the YouTube channel, and you don't want to miss that. And again, like, comment, all that great stuff that helps it pump this show out to more eyeballs. And it's cool to see that that we're retaining some viewers, and y'all are awesome. So thank you, and thank you so much for hanging out with us.